album's called Only Just Begun, and on it I play a total of 25 different instruments. When I started to write the album at the end of 2013, I just left the Black Dyke band as their soprano cornet player, and for the 7 years I was with the band I'd only played soprano cornet. I felt like if I wanted to play that instrument well, I had to focus purely on that instrument. But when I left, I was ready for some new challenges, some new experiences, so I began to learn the trombone, and when I got hold of it, I sounded okay the first time. When I tried it years before, I sounded terrible. I sounded like a trumpet player trying to play the trombone with a trumpet embouchure. But this time round, it sounded okay. So I began to practice simple exercises and learn the scales, learn the positions. And when I kind of got used to the trombone embouchure and the mouthpiece, all the brass instruments seemed to follow. There was no problem then. My embouchure became very flexible, so it didn't matter what mouthpiece was put in front of me. The embouchure adjusted, and it just fitted to make the sound on that instrument. And then I also decided to learn saxophone. So the daily routine of practice was whatever I did on one instrument, I had to do on all the instruments that I wanted to learn. So I'd take a simple Arban exercise at the beginning, maybe the tonguey ones. I'd play through that whole exercise on the saxophone, play through that on the trombone, and then play through that exercise again on the trumpet, always coming back to the trumpet.
Thought I visit the club, got as far as the door. They'd have asked me about you, don't get around much anymore. Oh darling,
Spent the first sort of 4 or 5 months just practicing instruments and writing and arranging music. And the first track that was ready to record was I Don't Get Around Much Anymore, a very famous jazz standard. I went over to Sweden to record this one because my friend Emma Björnell was a vocalist I wanted to sing with me. So we went to Nilento's studio just outside of Gothenburg. I recorded the piano and she recorded the vocals that day.
don't get around much anymore.
There's one bit in the middle where I put like a stab which you need to get, goes like dun da but darling I guess da 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 dun da da. No. But darling I guess da 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 da. And then this one, 1, 2, 3 but 1, 2, 3 but. Friends was with me, Per, he was a trumpet player, and it just happened that the studio owner's son was also a trumpet player, so we made a spontaneous trumpet section there and then and recorded the trumpet parts rather than just me playing them, which was much more fun. Stab, yeah. Okay. 2 bars. 1, 2.
Oh darling, I guess my mind's more at ease, but nevertheless, why stir up memories? I've been invited on dates.
I didn't have the note in my ear, sorry.
One more time. I did it.
There's no problem.
We can make an outtake CD.
Don't get around much anymore.
How did that sound?
A good one? Good. Then we're done with that one.
Another track I partly recorded in Sweden was Nobody Does It Better. And this was because I wanted Emma to sing on it. So I recorded the piano, and Emma sang along. And this arrangement was for brass band as well, and I wanted the Black Dyke Band, of course, to play on it. But with their schedule, you have to fit to them. They're not going to fit with you and your schedule. So the earliest recording session that they could fit me in was April, and that was going to be in Leeds. So it worked out. I did the piano and the vocals in Sweden to a backing track, and then I brought that track to Leeds in April. We recorded the brass band, and I did the solo parts there. And I remember that being such a bizarre experience, because I was stood in front of the band as a soloist, which I'd done hundreds of times before, but I was stood there with a trombone in my hand. And as some of the great trombone players that have stood in front of that band, and I was there just after learning the trombone 6 months before, playing with the Black Dyke Band on the recording. It was a bizarre experience for me. Time was spent by me in a room just using trial and error, record things, scrap things, record things, scrap things. Probably only 10% of the things I recorded made it onto the album. One of the tracks I did, Only Just Begun, I played all the instruments in the brass band, soprano, cornet, down to bass, trombone, and it took 3 or 4 attempts to get that right. Tuning I found was a big problem, playing in tune with myself on recordings, playing together. If I didn't get the first track exactly right, to play along to that was really difficult. And if the one track that I recorded was a microsecond out, and the next track along was a microsecond out, when you played them all together, it would just sound like a big mess. And then I had the problem of making it sound like a brass band, and not like one person playing 25 brass instruments. Yeah, to overcome this, I thought of it like a brass band. So within a cornet section, there's never 8 of the same cornet and using the same mouthpiece. So I tried to get different instruments. The Buffet group were really good to me. They sent me instruments I could use. So I used different instruments as different players would. I used different mouthpieces as different players would. I used different microphones as you would do if you recorded the band in a studio. It would never have 10 of the same microphones around. You'd have different microphones on different sections and different players, and for different reasons you'd use different microphones. It's the title track of the album. It's probably the one I'm most proud of, having played all the brass instruments. I don't think anybody had done it before where they record all of the brass instruments within a brass band. The track itself, I first heard a concert with Dyke, and James Morrison was the guest soloist. He played it, and I just remember looking at him and listening to those notes he plays, those high notes with so much power. And I always had a pretty good register, but that was always a note too high. But when I'd come to the end of my Black Dyke playing, the last competition was a piece of music called Arabian Nights for the British Open, and that finished on soprano cornet. It finished on the same note, which is in Only Just Begun, that high A, concert G. So I had been practicing, I'd been doing various exercises and things to overcome it and increase my range and increase my power. So I was ready to do this recording, and that was why I chose to do it on the album.
Alright, full bars have you got? Got the click on that?
Well, not really.
I'll put it on the end again.
Okay.
There you go.
One of the biggest thrills for me on the album was being able to invite some of my close friends and some amazing musicians to record with me. John Doyle I first met when I was a kid, playing with the St Helens Youth Brass Band. He'd sometimes come along and tutor for the day. And then years later I joined Black Dyke, where Doyle was the flugelhorn soloist. And I quickly realised what a cool guy he was, and also what an amazing player he was. And yeah, we worked together for many years as well, so we're close friends.
Maybe not.
There's a few contenders for the most difficult brass instrument. Soprano cornet, just because it's difficult. Bass trombone I found hard. One, because I couldn't quite feel it, my lungs weren't adapted to playing that instrument. I couldn't read the bass clef very well. And then also I had the trouble with the slide technique. But without doubt, the hardest instrument was the French horn. Okay, here we go. Take one.
Oh. No. Oh my gosh. This is the hardest instrument. I'm trying to play an F. There we go. Well, look, you can do all this in one valve. It's a whole scale on one valve. Splitty, splatty. Okay, here we go. Take 2. Oh.
After time, you get used to it, and now I think it's probably the most popular instrument that I use in all recordings. In almost everything, I put French horn in there. I first met Richard Marshall when I was a member of the National Youth Brass Band of Great Britain, where Richard was a cornet tutor, and I think Richard was instrumental in bringing me to Black Dyke. When I was there, I'd sit and listen every week, every rehearsal, every concert, every recording. I'd sit in complete admiration of the things he could do. The beautiful, expressive sound he made was magical. I wrote especially for Richard called Bella Bella. Bella is the name of Richard's first daughter. I remember not long after she was born, Richard coming into band with the latest photos and movies of her, and he was so proud to be a father, so proud of her. So the piece was written for the beautiful relationship they have and the proudness he has as a father.
So when you do it, to play that close to get the silky stuff.
It's up to you. How do you want it to sound?
Well, I do want this now. And that's from what you were doing, all that background stuff's quite
I
close.
did all quite close. The whole album's quite close, Mike.
That's how like kind of feel watches sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I've got this. They're really nice room mics as well. So I mean, that's good. Day by Day is a Swedish hymn called BLOTT and I arranged this for trombone soloist and for one special trombone player indeed, the young Peter Moore. who at the time had just been appointed principal trombone of the London Symphony Orchestra, but he was still really keen to come and do the recording, and I'm thrilled he did. I remember on the day he called me, he was on the train coming up, and he said, there's no problem, but I've got no trombone. So I said, that's okay, we'll get a trombone. So I managed to get a trombone for him, and then I remember he comes in, no warm-up, he sees the music, runs through it, one take, and then we went to play golf, or more hit golf balls, and we went to the pub, and the job was done. That was it, the whole recording done. I'm very proud of the album. I think it's one of the most personally satisfying things I've done, and for sure some of the greatest developments I made as a musician were when I was making Only Just Begun.
I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak, and I seem to find the happiness I see when we're out together, dancing tick-tick, out together, dancing tick-tick, da-dum-dum-da-ba-da-da.